Welcome to Coach Bennett's podcast, where every run has a purpose, where kindness is hardcore, where this is about running, and this is not about running, where every starting line is a finish line in disguise, where rambling still gets you where you need to be, where pineapple will never ruin your pizza, and the sodas, adult and not adult kind, are always cold, and where there is room on the starting line for everybody. I'm Coach Bennett. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Let's get started. Welcome to episode 49, which means we are one away from episode 50. And that doesn't mean that 49 is any less awesome than episode 50. 50 just has a nice ring to it. But 49's got a nice ring to it too. 49's 7 times 7. You know what I mean? 49. That's right. And this is episode 49. How to run consistently. That's right. How to run consistently. Could you make the case that this is the most important Coach Bennett's podcast of all time? Sure. Why not? You can make the case that any of the episodes are the most important episodes of all time. But I think you'd have a lot in your corner if you wanted to make the case that this one is the most important. And I'll tell you why. Because I think the secret ingredient, hopefully not after this, maybe the most important ingredient to success in running is consistency. That's right, running consistently, which means it's the inconsistency in your running that limits just how much fun you have, I think, maybe with your running, because if you run more, you're probably going to have more fun. If you run more consistently, you're going to learn more about yourself. If you run consistently, you're going to have a better opportunity to build endurance, speed, strength. You're going to go on more journeys and adventures. You're going to be able to take on more challenges. It's that consistency. And now what we're going to do over the course of these, so many minutes, I'm not sure how long this is going to be. I have no idea how long this is going to be, is we're going to break down, I think, the different aspects of how you can run consistently. And in doing so, if you want to look at it from a different angle, we're going to be highlighting all the things that keep you from being consistent. So we've got a lot to do. There's a lot. I mean, the list is long. And before we get into the heart and the soul of this episode, let me just talk about a couple things that have been going on from just like kind of a runner point of view, because I think it's kind of cool to be sharing some of these things. And I'll put some of this stuff in the show notes too. But there's been a lot of really great track and field going on. Again, for all of you nerds out there, and all of you should be nerds. And ideally, you all become or already are running nerds, or as I like to say, runnerds. But there's some really awesome stuff. I mean, we just had the Penn Relays in Philadelphia, which is one of my favorite meets every single year. It's a complete bonanza of mostly relays at middle school level, high school level, the collegiate level, professional level, master's level. It is just epic. It is chaos. It is so much fun. And that was at the end of April. Wonderful meet. I'll put the links up to like some of the better races that came out of it. But that was when I was running in high school. That was one of the main goals that not just my team had, but I had too. I only had a few really big goals in high school. Penn Relays was one of them. To be able to run in the Championship of America distance medley relay in high school and win. That was the goal. And I achieved one of those, and I think you can figure out which one I didn't achieve, because obviously you can't win the race and not be in the race. So I was in the race. We didn't win. I did have the lead, though. I did have the lead, and I made a move that I should not have made until a little bit later in the race, and it cost us. So it's not a big deal. I don't think about it every day. I think about it every other day. Anyway, moving on. So we also have the Prefontaine Classic is coming up May 24th and May 25th. I'll put a link to that as well. So you got a little bit of time to prepare for that, about 2 weeks to prepare for the Prefontaine Classic. That's going to be a jammer. I mean, seriously, that's going to be awesome. It's one of the preeminent elite track and field meets every single year on this planet. And this year, considering the fact that it's going to be an Olympic year, whoo, baby, there are already some epic races that are being planned. We're talking like preview for Olympics type races. Like the big stars are coming out to dance and sing on this most awesome stage. And the cool thing is it's at legendary Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. So I guess what's cool about it is I get to go. So I'll be sharing a lot during that weekend of just behind the scenes stuff, as much as I can at least, of the meet, the Prefontaine Classic, which is named after the great Steve Prefontaine, who was one of the great, I'm using the word great a lot, but that's okay, right? I mean, I think it's kind of great that I'm using the word great a lot. But anyway, Steve Prefontaine was one of the greatest American distance runners of all time and passed away at the young age of, I want to say he was 27 in 1975. So he was very getting close to his prime and died in a car accident. Maybe someday we'll talk a little bit more about Prefontaine and what he's meant to the sport, primarily in the United States. But anyway, so there's just a lot of stuff coming up, and obviously the Olympics later this summer. You're going to have national championships all around the world, which is really cool. So I'll be dripping a little bit over the next couple of episodes, kind of either videos or websites or maybe people that I think you should be following if you want to kind of just dive into this. Because I will tell you this, it's not on my list, but it should have been. One of the ways to get more consistent in your running is to just become a bigger fan of the sport. And at all levels. I think the more levels you're a fan of, the more types of running and track and field and competing that you're a fan of, the more likely you're going to want to be a part of it and take part in it and not be apart from it. So that's kind of my little, I'm not going to say it's a hidden agenda because it's not a hidden agenda. I'm pretty overt about this. I want you to fall in love with the sport. I want you to, feel like this is a positive part of your life. And I think there's a lot of the sport that people either don't pay attention to, or maybe they don't pay attention to it because they don't know it's there, which isn't the same as not paying attention to it. It's just missing out on it. So I'm going to draw attention to it. I'm going to shine a spotlight on it, and hopefully you enjoy it and it inspires you to just fall deeper and deeper in love with this great sport. So there you go. Just wanted to get that in there before we get into how to run consistently. Episode 49. And I'm going to start by saying this. Consistently doesn't mean constantly. A lot of times when I bring this conversation up, I lead with that because I think it's really important right off the bat to let people know I'm not saying that you need to run constantly to run consistently. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to run every single day. I'm not saying you need to start a streak. I'm not saying any of that. There's a difference between running constantly and running consistently. And even when you think about it, if you say, I run constantly, there's like almost like a feeling of stress and anxiety when you say that. You know, it almost like it starts draining energy from you. I run constantly. That's no one wants to do that. Consistently is different. Consistently is different. And you get to define what consistently really means for you. For me, I feel like consistently is I'm running in a way where I don't feel like when I go for a run that I'm coming back from anything. I don't feel like I'm starting at the bottom of a hill. I don't feel like I'm worse than the last time I ran. And I'm not measuring this by the metrics that you're going to associate with volume, like distance or duration, or, with pace or speed or the ability, to compete at a certain level. When I was very inconsistent with my running, I felt like I was choosing not to run for different reasons, and almost always not good reasons. And as a result, when I would go for a run, I was starting from a place of really lack of confidence more than anything else. And I also maybe had a little sprinkle of regret in there. Maybe not even a sprinkle. Maybe it was a little healthy dab of regret because I wasn't running consistently. I didn't know how to run consistently. A lot of it was self-sabotage. And there were a lot of days when I really wanted to run and I just didn't. I did not know how to run consistently. And in my head, I was thinking, I don't know how to make myself run. And I think that kind of tone probably led to me running inconsistently. This idea of like, I have to make myself run. I didn't really know how to set myself up to want to run and give myself more opportunities to start a run, successfully do a run. And once I figured that out, I found myself running more consistently. There was less time between my runs. And there's a lot of reasons for why you may have lots of time between your runs, which, we're going to get to also, because there's a lot of reasons why people are inconsistent. But it took me some time to figure out how I could run consistently in a really positive way. And one of the things was not looking at it as I have to constantly run. That was really important. And I know it's just a word, but it's an important one. The goal isn't to constantly run. The goal is to consistently run. There are so many good things that come from consistently running. All right? I mentioned a few earlier, like endurance, okay? Potentially speed, great, sounds good. But there's confidence that comes in there. There's consistently dealing with stress in a positive way, because running is a positive stressor and it really helps you deal, I believe, with some of the negative stressors in your life. It's an opportunity to move, to be physically active, but also mindfully active. It's an opportunity to explore. It's an opportunity to get together with other people, which in this day and age is not always the easiest thing to schedule, to set up. I feel like we get more and more isolated. And on the flip side, if you're constantly around people and you need some alone time, a run is a great opportunity for some alone time. It's an excuse to go spend some time in nature, another thing that doesn't happen as much as it should. So there's a lot of really great things that can happen when you go for a run, which is why going for a run consistently leads to more opportunities for all those great things. For me, it was trying to figure out this balancing act of setting myself up so I wanted to go for a run. It didn't feel like I need to make myself go for a run. It wasn't, running is not like this punishment, or really, it's not homework. It's an opportunity to experience all of those good things. So by not looking at running as something I needed to constantly do, it was something I wanted to consistently do. It really changed my mindset about a number of things, which led me to this next point, which was stop being a jerk to yourself. If you want to run consistently, being a jerk to yourself is not going to help that happen. Being a jerk to yourself about not running, being a jerk to yourself about the runs that you do, being a jerk to yourself about how you feel on a run, being a jerk to yourself about how long you run, distance or duration wise, none of this is going to help you consistently run. And if you want to run better, the best way to run better is to consistently run and consistently have better runs. You will not achieve either of those if you're a jerk to yourself, which I know is a constant theme on these podcasts of mine, but it's a constant theme on this podcast of mine because people are consistently jerks to themselves. I see it. I see jerks. I see coaches that are jerks to their athletes, which is also like extra aggravating to me because you have a responsibility to serve the athlete, not belittle an athlete. You have a responsibility to help an athlete become better every single time they meet with you. They should never, ever leave less than how they arrived. They should always leave more than how they arrived, more of themselves, more truly who they are, feel better about who they are. It doesn't mean they're always going to have a great practice, but they should leave as a better version of themselves, aided by you. So that's just something to throw in there, is that if you want to run consistently, which, as I mentioned at the beginning, is maybe the most important key to success in this sport, however you want to measure that success, consistency is probably the most important key. Being a jerk to yourself will not, 100% will not help, will not aid that happening. So if you want to sabotage yourself, if you want to do something that's going to give you less benefit than you could have had over the course of a run, be a jerk to yourself. If you want there to be less likely a chance that you're going to go for a run, have a good run, learn something positive about the run, become better because of the run, and run again, be a jerk to yourself. It's like one of the number one things you can do to become a worse runner is be a jerk to yourself. Remember that the next time you're a jerk to yourself. It's like if I told you pouring hot sauce in both of your eyes is going to make for a worse run, I imagine you would have no problem not doing that. And when you even may grab some Tapatio and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna pour some in my eyes on this run, maybe I triggered, something in you, and you go, wait. That's going to make for a worse run. I shouldn't do that. It makes sense too. Pouring hot sauce in my eyes seems really stupid. I don't see how this could help my run. And yet when I tell people being a jerk to yourself won't make for a better run, it will in fact make for a worse run, people still do it. So maybe I just have to keep saying it over and over and over. And I have no problem being redundant at all. I have no problem being redundant at all. Get it? See what I... Okay, next thing, which I've also said in prior podcasts, is the importance of mixing things up. Okay, mixing things up. I always say that your week of running, or your 2 weeks of running, or your 10 days of running, however you kind of look at your running, some people just go day to day, that's fine too, should look like an epic mixtape. And what I mean by that is the best mixtapes, at least when I was growing up, and I made killer mixtapes, unbelievable, badass mixtapes, is you wanted a diversity of artists, tempos, and songs, obviously. You wanted people to be excited by the next song, and you would, if you really were a pro about it, and I'm sure some of you here are going to be nodding along with me when you're thinking about making your mixtapes, you wanted there to be a little bit of some surprise, where sometimes you're like, ooh, that progression from that song to that song, surprising, but I like it. And other times the flow was just about perfect, so you wanted a little bit of everything. Maybe there was even an undercurrent of like, I'm picking up on a theme here. I like that. So there's the same thing when it comes to your week of running. You should mix things up. There should be diversity in your training. It shouldn't be all easy runs all the time of the same distance and same duration at the same pace. You want to mix up distances, durations, and pace. You want to mix up the types of runs, the terrains, the time of day, who you're running with, what you're listening to. All of these things will lead to diversity in your training. And really what it does, this diversity is going to challenge you in different ways. It's going to make your different days of running different from each other in a way where you're not going to lead to this feeling of monotony. You're not going to feel... Monotony? Did I say that correct? Monotony. Wow. You say it like 2 or 3 times and it sounds like that's not even a real word. Like the word road. Think of it like road. Look, that's a road. It's a road. We're driving on a road. Road. Like it ceased to be a word anymore. Road. Who made that word up? Road. Like what about it makes you think road? Anyway, the point is you want to be mixing things up so you're not getting into a rut. A lot of times people can confuse consistency with constantly, and eventually that groove that they're in becomes a rut. Because it's the same thing over and over and over again. And that's something to look out for. And look at your running log or your running diary or your running journal and look through and say, am I mixing things up. And here's a great way to mix things up if you feel like, I'm getting a little bit, closer to constantly than consistently. Run less. A lot of times people think the way to mix things up is to add volume. I like saying, you can mix it up in both ways. Do less. Run less. If you've been running like 5K every, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday for weeks and weeks and weeks, well, I got an idea. Why don't you run 1K twice this week? Yeah. Believe me, that will shake you up. You're like, oh my goodness, I only ran over 1K. I have all this extra time. It was so easy to do 1K. I didn't realize how easy 1K was. That's kind of wild. I feel like maybe I want to run like 6 or 7K on the weekend now instead of 5K. It will shake things up. Or do a speed run if you never do a speed run. Or run on trails if you never run on trails. Or run around your neighborhood if you're always running at the park instead. There's all sorts of things that you can do to mix things up. And what it's going to do is it's going to make sure that the runner doesn't get stale. Okay? A lot of times running can seem boring. And really what it is, everybody, let's be honest, it's just boring runners. That's what it is. I mean, if your running's boring, I'd look in the mirror first. You may be boring. And that's okay. You don't have to be boring. That's the thing. Mix things up, you will cease to be boring. So that's another one. This next one could be the first one I would bring up, but I'm kind of putting it somewhere in the first third or the middle, just because this doesn't have to be in order of, Captain Obvious moments, but staying healthy. Yeah, staying healthy is how you run consistently. You can't be sick and hurt and run consistently. I mean, maybe you can continue to run consistently for a little while, but then you get really sick or really hurt, and then you literally just can't run. And that just seems foolish. So one of the things that you want to be trying to do, if you want to run consistently, is stay healthy. And a lot of times these things seem to compete with each other, like running consistently and staying healthy, especially when people are starting to run well, and they shouldn't. Because if you're constantly trying to stay healthy, and there's different things that you can do, and I'll break some of them down for you, like the simplest ones. What you're going to find is it's like an insurance policy. There's a couple of things you can do for insurance policies as a runner, and one of them is doing the little things around staying healthy. And it doesn't mean you have to live like the life of a monk, okay? What it means is you're taking care of a lot of the little things that when you're doing the big things can kind of be ignored. And you'll see it when people suddenly get like a rhythm in their running. They'll start doing the little things, and then there's other people who will stop doing little things or won't start doing them even though they should. I'll give you a great example. If you start to run consistently, you should try to have better sleep. Like, again, you've heard me talk about sleep. I'm not going to say you should have more sleep, although you probably should. But unless you can find the extra time, which some of us can, to get more sleep, great. Focus on getting better sleep. That way you can take full advantage of the training you're doing. But as your training increases, as you start running more consistently, you're going to need to recover more. So you need to either sleep better or sleep more. Ideally, you can do both of those. That'd be great. It's like the same thing with like fluids. Like, people, when they first start running, I see them, they've got their water bottles and they're like super prepared. It's like day 2 and day 3. And I'm like, that's awesome. Day like 37, when they're running more, I'm like, where's your water bottle? They're like, oh, I forgot it. Because they just kind of take it for granted. I'm running consistently. Everything's fine. It's like, no, actually, this is where you should really be focused on hydrating, because now you're running a couple more days a week for more minutes or more miles. That first run you did when you ran a couple of minutes, like it's not that big of a deal if you have a water afterwards. Now suddenly you're running consistently, you're taxing yourself consistently, you're sweating more, you're doing more of all of this good stuff. You need to take care of yourself more. Don't assume the running's going to take care of everything. It's not. It's not. If you want to take care of the running, you got to take care of the runner. So you got to stay healthy physically, but also emotionally. Remember the first thing I said, don't be a jerk to yourself. Was that the first thing I said? The second thing I said. That's emotionally taking care of yourself. If you're someone who can go negative on a run, mentally, mindfully, emotionally, and you're starting to run more miles, more minutes, more meters, more days, it's more opportunities to be a jerk to yourself. You have to be aware of that too. Whereas maybe early on you were running twice a week for 15 minutes a day. That's 30 minutes. Probably not the entire 30 minutes of you beating up on yourself, but maybe you go negative and you're not the best teammate to yourself. Okay, well, maybe out of those 30 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes is you just being a jerk. But now you're running 4 days a week and you're averaging 30 minutes a run. That's 2 hours of running. And if we're doing the same thing, it's suddenly an hour of you beating up on yourself, or maybe you're beating up on yourself even more. You are not going to stay healthy emotionally if you are a jerk to yourself more and more as you run more and more consistently. These are the things you need to be looking at yourself. Like, okay, well, maybe I can look at this as an opportunity to be more emotionally supportive of myself during these runs. And I'll tell you what, if you can do that, it's going to bleed into the rest of your day. It's going to help you be consistently healthier emotionally outside of your runs, which is one of the great benefits of running. It should help you outside of the run. Your running can be about more than running. You know what I mean? Okay. So you really want to be trying to stay healthy physically, emotionally, mindfully, if you want to run consistently. And it seems like, wow, you're asking a lot of me. No, what I'm telling you to do is take care of yourself. That's what I'm telling you to do. If you want to accomplish more stuff, the best thing you can do is take better care of yourself. And for whatever reason, I feel like we've got this like totally screwed up, where people think like if they want to accomplish lots of stuff, they have to take worse care of themselves. Like, no, that's not how it works. Like, if you want to do great work and do more great work and do more great work consistently, take care of the worker, okay? In this case, that's you, buddy, all right? So stay healthy physically, emotionally, mindfully, and you're going to have a better chance of running consistently. All right, another one. Be stronger than you're running. Now, when I was first working with Nike in New York City about 10 years ago, and I took this from when I was coaching high school, one of my rules was I wanted athletes to be stronger than the runs that they're doing. Stronger athletes than the runner they are. And what I meant by that was I wanted you to become a better athlete. I wanted you to not rely on running to make you a better athlete, which meant we were going to have to do things other than running if we wanted to get better at running. And if you think about the act of running, which is a full body experience, you've done it before, but there's a lot of things that don't normally happen on just like an easy run. There's very little side to side movement, isn't there? Yeah, there's a lot of things that we kind of take for granted suddenly once we start running consistently. When you're younger, if you're lucky enough as a young athlete or someone who was active, younger, we took for granted all this side-to-side movement. When you're in the playground playing tag, or you're running around and you're playing like football, or whichever football you want, soccer football, global football, or American football, or you're playing baseball or softball, all of these things, gymnastics, just fooling around, like you're doing all of these motions that do not occur normally on a run. Very athletic movements that don't happen on a run. You want to incorporate those movements throughout your life. You never want to stop the movement of play. So if you could say, what was like the most epic 45 minutes I ever had on a playground, like actively playing, and you think of all the movements you had, the squats you did, the explosions of sprinting that you did, the sharp turns, the side-to-side movements, like all of those things, getting back up off the ground, that was called play. Now you probably have to pay someone at a class to do those movements, but you don't. You can incorporate those movements into your life in various different ways. You can play other sports. I mean, that's probably the best thing to do is, When you're running consistently, mix up some days where maybe you're playing tennis or playing soccer or playing basketball. I mean, that's all great. Really, really great for you as a runner. And if you don't feel comfortable doing those things or don't have the opportunity of doing those things, then you just got to mimic them at home, in your apartment, at the field, before or after the run. I mean, there's drills you can do. There's stretches you can do. There's all sorts of things that you can do to kind of incorporate athleticism into your life that's beyond the athleticism of a runner. And if you can do that, you will be stronger than the run you're doing. And what I see more than anything, when athletes are getting hurt, it's usually because the running is stronger than the athlete they are. So they're taking on runs that maybe they physically can't do, especially when you add in consistently. When you start running consistently, okay, well, if you're not stronger than what you're asking your body to do, eventually your body says, dude, I'm out, I'm done. And that's how you get hurt. That's where I see most injuries occurring. So you want to stay athletic. And the best way to stay athletic is to play. Just figure out how you want to play. All right? And again, these are the things where if you say, hey, coach, I'd love for you to dive deeper on this, well, then send me some mail, my people, or shoot me a DM and say, hey, can you just go a little bit deeper on this? And I will, because I'm kind of overdue for like an all-mail session podcast episode, so maybe that's something we can do. All right, another one, if you want to run consistently, and you've heard me say this before too, do the run you can do when you can't do the run you want to do. I'm going to say it again. Do the run you can do when you can't do the run you want to do. Simple example of this would be, I know I'm very, very busy later today. I've got to record this. I've got to edit this. I've got to run a couple of errands. I would like to run longer. It's actually beautiful out here in Portland, Oregon. Blue skies. It's been raining nonstop for like over a week, and it's blue skies, mid-60s. It is just about perfection out. I would love to go for a longer run today. I can't. I don't have the time. The way the schedule's looking, I'm not going to be able to go for some longer run. So I'm going to do the run that I can do. I'm not going to beat myself up over not being able to do a run I can't do. How silly is that? I can't run for an hour. Why would I beat myself up for not running an hour? I can't do it. I can run for half an hour, so that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to do the run I can do when I can't do the run I want to do. And maybe most importantly, bringing in that jerk thing that I brought up earlier, I'm not going to be a jerk to myself for not doing something I can't do. That's just such an utter waste of energy. And from a coaching perspective, why are we wasting energy? Why would you do that? If you're going to waste energy, at least waste energy in a way that brings you joy, because then it won't be a waste. You know what I mean? But being a jerk to yourself and wasting energy in a negative fashion over something that you're doing as best as you can, wow, that's just stupid. Stupid. So do the run you can do when you can't do the run you want to do. Bring this into your daily existence and let this be about running and let this not be about running. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to get more done, and you're going to be a better teammate to yourself getting that stuff done, which is going to lead to higher quality stuff getting done. Okay, kind of cousins with that previous one is sometimes the best run is no run. That's right. One of the great ways of staying consistent is understanding that truth. Sometimes the best run is no run. Sometimes the best way to consistently run is to sometimes not run. Oh yeah, that's right. And I'm not saying that there are people in situations, it might be even you, that can run every day for the next 25 years. Okay? There are. I've been running every day for a while. Granted, I do a lot of 5-minute runs, and I have a very simple rule. If I do a run that ends with me worse than I started, I'm not going to do the run. I've just been very, very kind of lucky in some regards, and I've also been very smart about how I look at my running. There were a number of 5 and 10 minute runs that if I had said, you know what, I'm just going to be hardcore and I'm going to grind my way to 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 80 minutes, I wouldn't be able to run every day. I wouldn't be able to run as consistently as I've been running. But I know that sometimes the best run is no run. I also know that sometimes the best 60-minute run is a 30-minute run. And sometimes the best 30-minute run is a 10-minute run. You have to be willing to adjust when it's the right move for the athlete. And if you're self-coaching, then that's what you have to remember. You are the athlete and you are the coach. And sometimes the coach has to make the decision that the athlete doesn't want to make. And more often than not, when it's coming to someone who's running consistently, it's telling someone to not run or to back off or slow down, do less. It seems like, that would be an easy conversation to have. It's usually the hardest because people think that the only way to get better is to do more. What they're not paying attention to is that, it probably is more, but in this case, it may mean more recovery, more days off, more easy days, not more distance, more volume, more intensity, more runs. Okay? Just something to think about, but it's an important thing to think about if you're in the mood to try to become a more consistent runner, which I think you should, whatever that means, like I said. Okay, another one that's super important is to keep it fun, to play running. I mean, it's a sport, it's an activity. It's supposed to be fun. And a lot of times people go, "Oh, running's not supposed to be fun." No, you're wrong. You're going about this the wrong way. Again, it's your fault. Like if you're not having fun running, you're probably just doing it the wrong way. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Maybe you're not meant to be running 2 speed runs a week and trying to race and bring down your times. Like if that's not bringing you joy and you're not finding fun in chasing after these goals, stop doing it. Find out why you're actually running and run for those reasons. But if running isn't fun, if running's just bringing you stress and misery, don't do it. Or stop doing it the way you're doing it and do it in a way that brings you joy. That's what it should do. There are all these other benefits that come from it. Yes, it's from a fitness and a health perspective, yes, absolutely hugely beneficial, unless it's stressing you out and making you miserable. Then I don't understand how that's making you healthier. It's making you not enjoy your existence. That's not a positive. So make sure you're having fun. You can be serious about having fun. It's supposed to be play. It doesn't mean it's always going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's never going to be hard. You can have lots of fun doing hard things. So play running. Have fun running. That is essential if you want consistency in your running. And if you have to take a step back and figure out, why am I not enjoying this anymore? Well, take a step back. It's like any other relationship you have. There are good times. There are not so good times. And sometimes you just need a break from each other. That's okay. Especially if you're in this for the long term. You're willing to work for it and say, you know what? More often than not, it's me. It's not running. It's usually me. I'm asking too much of running, or I'm taking advantage of running, or I'm abusing the running. Most of the time, and by most of the time, I mean 100% of the time, it can be solved by me because I'm the problem. I imagine it might be the same with you or the people that you're around in running. And maybe you need to find some new buddies, you know what I mean? Or a new coach, or, so these are just, again, if you're looking at this as, consistently for the long run, because running can be a lifelong sport, this is a really important one to remember. You should have fun. It should be a form of play, and it should bring you joy. Like I said a minute ago, but I'm going to say it again. It doesn't mean it's always going to be easy, but it's not supposed to always be hard, okay? All right. Last one is kind of a loaded one, but whatever. You can handle it. And it's let your running be about more than running. And I've been hinting at this, and not even hinting at it, I've been talking about it this entire episode. Let your running be about more than running. It's got to be about more than the distance that you traveled. It's got to be about more than how quickly you covered that distance. It's got to be if you want to run consistently and get the most that you can out of these runs. Now, here's the cool thing. If you can make your running about more than meters, minutes, miles, pace, that means you can get more out of your running than minutes, meters, miles, and pace. If you can let your running be about more than just running, then running can help you with more than just running. And now, instead of going out and saying, "Oh, I gotta run 6K," well, if that's not motivation enough to get out the door, if that's not inspiring to you, well, then maybe what you need to do is look at it in a different way and say, it's sunny and it's 68 degrees Fahrenheit for all you Celsius people out there, which is most of you because we're only doing Fahrenheit in the United States. But anyway, the point is, it's a beautiful day. Rather than looking at it as, I've got to go cover 6K at this pace, I'm going to look at it as, I'm going to go run around the neighborhood and I'm going to check out all the flowers because they're out. They are out and they are gorgeous, and there are a few people who really do an incredible job with their landscaping. It's amazing. Or, you know what? I'm going to run down, along the waterfront because I know that there's crew teams out there or there's boats out there. Or I'm going to run through the park because I haven't been there in a while and it's a beautiful day and it'll be a great opportunity to get out and see nature. I'm going to go run on the boardwalk. I'm gonna call up one of my friends who I haven't seen in a while. Maybe we'll run down by the bridges. Like these are things that you can do that suddenly it's not leading with the metrics. It's leading with something else. I'm gonna get out of the house because I've been in the house now for 3 straight days. Or I'm gonna get out of the office because I've been in the office nonstop. These are all great excuses to go for a run. I'm stressed out. I need to go for a run. I need to get my heart pumping, my body moving, clear my head, listen to some great music, and just be an athlete for 15 minutes. And I'm going to come back and, all of my work is still going to be there on my desk. There's still going to be stress waiting for me, but I'm going to be better equipped to deal with it because I went for a run. And I covered some distance. And I ran for a duration. And I went a certain pace, yada, yada, yada. It all happened. All those metrics occur too. But the focus can be a little bit different, and you can still accomplish all those things. Not leading with distance, duration, effort, pace, and leading with something else is going to help you run consistently. And that's really great. So just spend a little bit of time asking yourself a very simple question. Why do I want to go for a run? I don't think enough of us ask that question. And you can ask it and answer it almost immediately, probably. Like, why? And if it's, well, this is the day on my training program, or, I have to stay fit, and these are all valid reasons. But go a little bit deeper. You know what? Because there's a satisfaction I feel finishing a run. Fantastic. I need to get outside and breathe some fresh air because I need to relax and I feel stressed. Fantastic. I love the joy of going down that first hill, leaving my neighborhood. Badass. That's awesome. I want to run by and wave to my childhood friend because I know that they're home from school. So I'm going to go run by, say a quick hello, probably say hi to their mom, drink some lemonade, then I'm going to run back. That's awesome. I'm going to go outside because, I'm going to screw around on the trail because it's raining and I know it's going to be messy and I want to get muddy and I just want to get dirty out there and have some fun and slip, and it's just going to be wild, and it's raining so hard, so why not? When's the last time I was outside in the rain? It's raining, stay inside or put an umbrella up. Screw that. I'm going to go put on my jacket and I'm going to go outside and I'm going to run in the rain. Let's do it. Fantastic. Let's go. All right. It brings me joy. It brings me happiness. It builds up confidence. Yes. Awesome. You can still accomplish all the metrics. Why do you want to go for a run? Let it be about more. Let it be about more. Ask that question. What do you want to get out of the run? Why am I doing this? It's going to lead to you having a better chance to be motivated to put on your shoes, inspired to cross that starting line, if you just know why you're doing it. And sometimes we forget. And when we forget, we misconstrue that as, I have no reason to run. I don't want to run. No. Sometimes you need that day off, like I told you. But when I was talking earlier about how inconsistent I wasn't asking the right questions. Why do I want to do this? I needed to ask. And I would have come up with a lot of answers if I had just given myself the time to think about it. And I didn't. I just thought, I gotta run 8 miles. Why? This is stupid. And I was close. Was there a why in there? Were you about to ask the question? And if I would have just asked myself why, given myself the opportunity to answer, I would have known. And I would have had more runs. Great runs. Good runs. And yes, that's a regret of mine. That I feel like I robbed myself of a lot of runs. The good thing is I'm asking the right questions now. So, yeah, is it a regret? Absolutely. Have I learned from it? Oh, baby, yes. So, if you want to run consistently, which I think is a great goal, I think it's a wonderful gift to yourself to run consistently, whether that means I'm going to consistently run twice a week or 4 times a week or 5 times a week, whatever. Doesn't matter. If you want that consistency, it's going to lead to consistently better runs, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons and doing it the right way. And then, there's magic on the other side of every starting line, you know? So that's episode 49, everybody. And oddly enough, we're going to be dangerously close to this actually being 49 minutes long. So that's wild. So I'll just leave you on that. Didn't plan it. It's going to be close. I haven't done the editing. I'm just saying it's going to be right around there. And if it ends up being right around 49 minutes, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. It's just coincidence. But the point is pretty cool, right? Yeah. All right. Well, listen, that's it. That's episode 49, which means next episode is episode 50. So this is what you can do for me. I know you're like, dude, I didn't offer to do anything for you, but that's okay. Before you say no, let me tell you what you could do. You can subscribe to this podcast. Thanks so much if you haven't already. You can share it with a friend, buddy, family member. Thank you. You can rate it positively, I hope. I mean, it's up to you, but I don't know. If you feel like it deserves a positive rating, please give it a positive rating. And if you feel it deserves a great review, give it a great review. That's what you can do for me. Other than that, just take care of yourself and take care of each other. And I'll meet you on the next starting line. Thank you so much for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast today. And if you're not already following or subscribed to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening, well, I really wish you would, because it helps a lot. Also, check out the show notes, because you'll find a link to Coach Bennett's newsletter, as well as all the social media sites that I'm on. Places like Threads and Facebook and Instagram and Mastodon and YouTube, and even the artist formerly known as Twitter. Whatever that dumpster fire is called today, you'll find a link to it, because I'm on there. Thank you so much again for listening, and until next time, take care of yourself.